Yo, what's up guys? You got PokeaimMD here with a moveset video on Marshadow, how to use Marshadow. It's only been released for about a day and a half on Showdown, and I've used all these sets, and I think I've pretty much put together the sets that I think are currently its best, as well as some other options that can definitely work for this Pokemon. So I'll be talking about that. First off, Marshadow is Fighting and Ghost, which is amazing typing. Though it only has two immunities, normal and fighting. It has great speed at base 125 and base 125 attack, and then pretty decent defenses at base 90 special defense and base 80 defense. Even a decent special attack set at base 90. As well as the fact that it does have Technician, which is pretty cool. It does power up its weaker moves. So Marshadow is really cool because it does have its signature move, Spectral Thief. Now what Spectral Thief actually does, it's a ghost type physical move that steals your opponent's boost before doing damage. So I'm going to give you an example of, let's say Dragon Dance Gyarados. Gyarados just went for Dragon Dance in front of me. I go for Spectral Thief after. Before I actually attack, I take the +1 attack and +1 speed that Dragon Dance gave Gyarados. I take that from my Marshadow, and then I attack with Spectral Thief, which looks amazing, by the way. I'm hoping to maybe I'll include like a little animation of Spectral Thief as well as its Z move, Soul Stealing 7-star Strike, which sounds ridiculous, in the end of the video or sometime in between if I can get my hands on that. But this Pokemon, really cool, has great dual stab in Spectral Thief and Close Combat, even has priority in Shadow Sneak, which is really cool, and I very much have been enjoying this Pokemon for the day and a half I've been using it. So the first set we have is the Swagger set. Now you might be thinking, what, isn't Swagger like dependent on luck and whatnot? Yes, it is. However, this set is more so to use Swagger when you know your opponent's going to switch. Give whatever comes in a +2, and then you go for Spectral Thief to get the +2 yourself and hit them with a +2 Spectral Thief. So that's the idea of the Swagger set. It also can help out in a last-ditch situation versus maybe an opponent with a Pokemon like, let's say, Mega Mawile, that could otherwise knock you out with Sucker Punch, and you can Swagger it, can get confused, and then you could eventually knock it out and come out on top. But yeah, Marshadow's great speed allows to outspeed Pokemon that are very prominent in the tier, such as Greninja and Dugtrio, just to name two. So really nice speed, also being faster than Latios and Pokemon around those marks. So again, the Swagger set, the idea of it is to Swagger your opponent and then take their boosts with Spectral Thief, which is fun. And you might be thinking this is very gimmicky. It might look like it at first, but there's been countless games. I think I played about 50, okay, definitely not countless if I can give you a number, but I played about 50 games. And for the most part, this set always worked. And even if they switch out, let's say I Swagger a Landorus coming in, right? And then they switch out because they don't want me to get the boost from Spectral Thief. Something else is coming in on a Spectral Thief, and for the most part, if your opponent has one switch in, chances are the next Pokemon isn't a Pokemon that they really wanted to switch into on Marshadow. I hope that makes sense. So Swagger also forces switches, which in turn can rack up stuff like Stealth Rock damage, and also just allow Marshadow to start chipping away at your opponent with Spectral Thief. So Close Combat is your secondary form of stab. This is beautiful on Marshadow, a strong fighting type attack, allowing it to deal with Pokemon like Chansey, steel types in general, and basically just dealing massive damage. And now the last move, I actually have 3 versions of this, and I'll be talking about all 3 of them, but the last move on this is Shadow Sneak. Now Shadow Sneak is really cool because at +2 and Technician boost, it's actually relatively strong. Being able to pick off Tapu Koko after Stealth Rock and whatnot, and Tapu Koko is no pushover, and of course Tapu Koko being bulkier than you, or not really bulkier, but faster than you, excuse me. It's really nice to have that priority. This priority is also really good versus Pokemon like Gengar, Pokemon like Scarfers that might be locked in, or weakened Scarfers like Greninja and whatnot. Now I actually chose PokeaimMD for the item. Again, I have a few other items to talk about, but I like this because what it does is, if you do end up stealing the boost with Spectral Thief, you get this Soul Stealing 7-star Strike, which is ridiculously strong. I'll show you a calc right here versus Toxapex. This is just +1, by the way, because I do have a bulk up set that I want to talk about. But this is +1 versus standard Toxapex, which doesn't run max because it needs some SPDEF for Greninja and whatnot. +1 does 84 to 100%, and that's Toxapex. Toxapex is one of the bulkiest Pokemon out there. So MZ is the item of choice. Of course, also allowing you to break through fatter Pokemon like maybe a Tapu Fini or whatnot. If you are boosted, you are knocking it out. It's 195 base power, your Z move, so it is ridiculously strong. And yeah, I guess Life Orb is also an option, but I don't like that. I don't like taking Life Orb damage. I feel like Marshadow is actually relatively bulky for standards of like an offensive Pokemon like this. So I don't like to run Life Orb on it. I've actually tested out this other set right here, but before we get into that, I just want to say another item that I've used on its success is Spooky Plate, boosting my Spectral Thief and my Shadow Sneak. Again, if Swagger into +2, Shadow Sneak does knock out Tapu Koko with the Spooky Plate, which is really cool, and of course having that Technician boost on Shadow Sneak is really, really nice. And there are a few other options, of course, on the Swagger set, but I feel like Shadow Sneak is just the best option. Like, it does have access to Ice Punch, Poison Jab, but I feel like Shadow Sneak, especially on this mon, if you are running Spooky Plate, you want to boost your Spectral Thief as well as your Shadow Sneak. So that's the third option, which is Spooky Plate. The second option is actually Sub Swagger. Now, this is pretty cool because it allows you to avoid moves like Mawile Sucker Punch, as well as because Swagger actually got nerfed in this generation, being 85 accuracy, as well as the fact that Confusion got nerfed to, I believe, a 1 in 3 chance instead of a 50% chance. This generation, Sub allows you to pretty much Swagger safely, I want to say, behind a Sub without the chance of your opponent breaking through and knocking you out. I'll give you an example. Blender actually Swaggered a Tapu Bulu and gave it +2, and then he got blown away by Hornleech. But if you're behind a Sub and then you Swagger them on a switch, it makes it a lot easier to actually do some damage. And you can run Marshadow MZ. You can also run Spooky Plate on this set. Leftovers is an option, though I don't actually like Leftovers. I like a boosting type of move, or a boosting type of item, rather. But this set, really cool. As for teammates, it's really, I don't know, I feel like you just need Rocks Up with this Pokemon, I really do. Obviously, you got your standard Pokemon, like, you want to be wary of, like, Scarf Gengar, though if you are boosted, Shadow Sneak is going to pick that mon off. Actually, you barely need a boost to knock out Gengar. I think with Rocks Up, Shadow Sneak is already, like, knocking it out most of the time with Spooky Plate. And even then, like, definitely Salvarso. Landers is a great partner, but Landers is a great partner for a lot of them. I actually like Tapu Fini a lot because Marshadow doesn't like T-Spikes, obviously, or opposing hazards. Tangrowth is a great option because it helps it come in on Tapu Koko at least once or twice, which is something that Marshadow does not outspeed, as well as Manectric. They can come in on those Assault Vest Tangrowth anyway and wear those down for eventually sweeping with a Technician boosted Shadow Sneak. So that's definitely an option. Now, next set we have is Choice Scarf. This set is a lot of fun, especially versus offense. Offense actually does not have anything for this. Marshadow, being a ghost type, is really cool because it also can double as a spin blocker. So my opponent's Excadrill can't go for spin and whatnot. That's just something I wanted to note. But the set is Rock Tomb, Close Combat, Spectral Thief, and Ice Punch. Now, Rock Tomb I feel is necessary. A rock move is necessary. You could run Rock Slide, but this is boosted by... This not only does it have higher accuracy, it's also boosted by Technician and the fact that it lowers your opponent's speed by 1. And Marshadow has a really good speed tier. Most common Scarfers, if not all of them, are outsped by Marshadow. Now, I'll list some common Scarfers right now just so you can obviously have an idea. But there's Scarf Gengar, Scarf Greninja, which are common Scarfers, Scarf Nihilego, Scarf Garchomp, Scarf Latios, just to name a few Scarfers, maybe even Scarf Landers. And Marshadow outspeeds all of those with a Choice Scarf and actually threatens all of those with an OHKO, or a KO rather, with this set. So Rock Tomb is necessary because it allows you to revenge kill Volcarona. If Volcarona does go for a Quiver Dance, you knock it out with Rock Tomb. It also allows you to knock out Charizard Y 100%. And again, it's a really cool move because the fact that it lowers your opponent's speed by 1. And on every single set, I feel with Marshadow, you're always going to want to go Jolly Max Speed and then attack. you want to hit as hard as possible, and you want to at least force a potential speed tie versus your opponent. So close combat, Spectral Thief, your stab. Spectral Thief is also really cool in a Choice Scarf set, because if, for example, my opponent has a Dragon Dance Gyarados, already a +1, they knocked out something, I can go into Marshadow, outspeed them because of my Choice Scarf, steal their boost with Spectral Thief, and then maybe even get a little mini sweep going on. And then last, I have Ice Punch, because I feel like it's necessary for Landorus Therian Form, Zygarde, Garchomp. Mainly Garchomp, again, being a Choice Scarfer and just being able to break through those. But it's a really, really, really cool Scarfer, and it's really, really good versus offense. Offense doesn't have switch-ins for Marshadow. And Spectral Thief being able to steal boosts, threatening those Pokemon setups. So think about it like how when Ditto is on your opponent's team, and it threatens you because you're scared to set up with a specific mon, and that's how Marshadow is. And I feel like as more people adapt to Choice Scarf and understand, they will fear it more. But maybe before then, you'll see just a lot of sweeps from Marshadow just being Choice Scarf and stealing boosts. So next up, we have Bulk Up. Bulk Up's pretty cool. Unfortunately, this Pokemon does not get Swords Dance. Now, it does get Bulk Up, and with its relatively decent HP and defenses, it's not bad. I actually like MZ with Bulk Up the most, because again, this calc right here, this is +1 Soul Stealing 7-star Strike. That allows you to deal with Toxapex. And I think that's very important, because otherwise it can take Spectral Thieves. Drain Punch is actually preferred over Close Combat because you're boosting your defenses, so why would you want to drop them with Close Combat? Also giving you some sort of form of recovery. And I like Shadow Sneak because you're able to pick off Pokemon like Gengar and deal with faster Pokemon and being able to get off some chip with that. Of course, there are other options. Ice Punch and Poison Jab are both other options on the Bulk Up set over Shadow Sneak. I think Drain Punch and Spectral Thief, they're necessary. They're your stab, they're your form of recovery, they're your way of abusing the Z move. But your other option would be either Ice Punch to be able to deal with Landorus after a +1, which is something that you could do. You could set up versus it with Bulk Up, unless it's Z-Fly. You can set up versus that. And especially if it goes for stealth, especially if it's a defensive Landorus. And then Poison Jab is cool because it allows you to hit Tapu Fini, but mainly also Clefable. At +1, you do 2-hit KO physically defensive Clefable, so that's really cool at Marshadow. And those are your other options. Now, Choice Band is another really, 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 really solid set on this Pokemon, and I think it's one of its best sets right now. Though I'm having the most fun with the Swagger set. I'm not going to lie, that set is the most fun, but I do think Choice Band is his best set. Just doesn't have switch-ins. You have Close Combat and Spectral Thief. You just spam them. You really just spam them. The Choice Band and Ghost and Fighting, not much can take a hit from those at all. Nothing really resists it. I'm sure there's like 1 or 2 Pokemon. But either way, you do have Poison Jab. Poison Jab is necessary on the Choice Band set because it does 2-hit KO Clefable. Also smacking Tapu Fini. Also, well, in that regard as well. It's not like Spectral Thief is still doing some massive damage, but like Poison Jab is smacking Clefable for a 2-hit KO. Ice Punch is also pretty cool on it as a last move, but I actually like the fact that you have Choice Band Spectral Thief, so you're actually going to be able to do damage to Landorus, to Zygarde coming in and things like that. I don't think Ice Punch is necessary. I do prefer Poison Jab. When testing, I found Poison Jab to be a lot more useful than Ice Punch, especially versus those fatter teams with Clef or like even stall variation. And yeah, Choice Band Close Combat just hits so hard. And Shadow Sneak is just necessary. It is your Technician boosted way of picking off weaker opponents, and the fact that you're faster than Greninja, again, offense is scared of Scarf, offense is scared. Marshadow, offense doesn't like Marshadow at all. I think Marshadow is just a scary Pokemon in general, really. But Mix is also another option. I mentioned this because I feel like people are going to say it anyway. Of course, I do want to know what sets you've been having the most success with, so feel free to leave it down below. And of course, if you want to see the live that's happening later today, I do encourage you to subscribe. But Mix is a set, and Mix just runs HP Ice over Ice Punch because Naive, Life Orb, HP Ice can actually KO Landorus, a defensive Landorus. It does about 94% minimum. I just run Jolly anyway because the roll on Jolly is 85 to 100, so with Stealth Rock up, and the fact that most Landers are running Rocky Helmet, though some do run Leftovers, the fact that most are running Rocky Helmet, you can knock it out anyway. In fact, if you hit a defensive Landers with a Shadow Sneak upon switching, you knock it out with HP Ice anyway, with Jolly Nature, which is why I decided there was no point in running Naive on this. Why lower my pretty decent special defense just for that? It's not even a guaranteed KO unless I run like 40 special attack EVs, which lowers my attack. So, but this is definitely an option, being able to hit Landers. Again, it does more than Ice Punch because Landorus is Intimidate, and it can knock it out. Now, a few other options it does have. Calm Mind, I'm not going to lie, I use the Calm Mind set as well, but I just found why use Calm Mind and Focus Blast or stuff like that and Shadow Ball when I can use Spectral Thief and steal their boosts and use Close Combat as, an 100% accurate physical stab. Pursuit is a pretty cool option with Technician. You can be able to, especially like if your opponent has a Gengar and they know you're choiced, or maybe Gengar's low, if they switch out, Pursuit can knock them out. It's a pretty cool option, being able to Pursuit Trap. Will-O-Wisp, having access to that. Generally, these are other options that you can use, but the sets I mentioned are usually going to be the best. By the way, I love Choice Scarf on Rain. I think Choice Scarf on Rain is pretty cool because it revenge kills Volcarona. Volcarona does not knock it out unless you use a PokeaimMD, and it takes +2 Fire Blast in the Rain. So, Will-O-Wisp is an option, being able to cripple. You can also run stuff like Force Palm, Fire Punch, because it does have the elements of punches. Sucker Punch is also an option for some priority. I wish I got Mach Punch. I would never use I would never use Stone Edge or Rock Slide, just because Rock Tomb has more accuracy and is Technician boosted. Even though Stone Edge is stronger, it also has a chance to miss. And Laser Focus is interesting. Now, Laser Focus is a move that Marshadow does get. That next turn, the user's attack will be a critical hit. This is pretty cool in Normalium Z, because what it does is it gives you +1 attack as well as the effect of Laser Focus, which your next attack will crit. So that's a cool little gimmick that you might want to try. I just mentioned that just because some people might be thinking about it. And again, that's something you can try on Marshadow if you want to. But for the most part, I think the Swagger set, Choice Scarf, Bulk Up, Choice Band are just the best options on this Pokemon. Of course, I do want to know your thoughts on this Pokemon, and like I said, I will be having a Showdown Live featuring it later today, and as well as a Road to Top 10 the day after. By the way, happy 4th of July. But I will be having a Showdown Live featuring it later today, and like I said, a Road to Top 10 the day after, more than likely using Marshadow as well. So, overall, love this Pokemon. Amazing Pokemon, absolutely amazing. And yeah, it's just been so fun to use. I don't know, even just a Swagger set. Like Swagger, you might be thinking, oh man, that's cheesy, man. That got banned before in Smoke on. Oh, you're not wrong. It did get banned. But like in this generation with the accuracy nerf and the confusion nerf, I just love using it because I like stealing their boost with Spectral Thief and just being able to potentially win versus my opponent because I stole those boosts. So, of course, if you guys did enjoy or learn something, feel free to leave a like, you can subscribe, and like I said, feel free to leave some sets that maybe I didn't mention down below, always down for some discussion. I also want to mention Grass Knot is pretty cool for like Mega Swampert, things like that. Like it has some good, it doesn't have bad moves at all. It's a pretty decent moveset. I do wish it kind of got Mach Punch. I also wish it got Swords Dance. I think Swords Dance might have pushed this Pokemon over the edge. And my honest opinion about this Pokemon, yeah, it probably will be banned eventually to Ubers, but even then, like, I think it'd be pretty solid in Ubers too, being able to 100% check Arceus, being able to check Lunala and things like that. Soul, Spectral Thief is really cool too. But all in all, it's a really cool Pokemon, and really excited to be able to use it later. But like I said, feel free to leave a like, you can subscribe and do your thing, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, friends.